We are live. Happy Friday, everyone. And thank you so much for joining us again this Friday morning. It's the 1st of November. Can you imagine? We just started the year. And today we are looking at the second to last month in 2024. Wow. Mm.
Mm.
And this shows us that we have to really move with the times because the time is not waiting on anyone. The time is really going. Thank you so much for joining us this morning for another Munch. Learn, tea and learn. And we are here. We had a little disconnection a minute ago, but we are moving along. And today we will be talking about another topic that we believe is so relevant to life and leadership. We're talking about extracting the lessons, and not just the lessons, the important lessons from life and from leadership. And we are learning from setback. Today with me is Dr. Siegfried Howell. Dr. Howell is a life happiness and relationship coach and consultant. He's also a master life coach, and he coaches and equips men and the women they love who struggle with internal, intimate, and professional relationships. And he's also available for leadership and management training and personal development. Dr. Howell, thank you once again for being here as my able co-host.
Thank you,
And
Brad.
I am Dr. Janice Brooks, wearing many hats as usual, leadership consultant and coach. I'm part of the Maxwell team of leadership coaches, speakers, and trainers, a life strategist, pastoral counselor, and also available for corporate training. Learning from setbacks is really an essential part of our personal growth and effective leadership, and no one can dispute that. When we analyze the challenges and the obstacles that we encounter in life, we can gain valuable insights that allow us to make better decisions today and in the future. And not just make the decisions, we can carve out the strategies that will help us to become better. So we must ask ourselves, what are the lessons that we will come away with when we face failures, when we face challenges? Did we need more knowledge on the topic or the situation that caused the failure? And most importantly, we want to know, how could I have leveraged what I know, my experience, to make it better? And many times, though, we are also tempted to blame others for the failures that we encounter in life. It brings me to a biblical lesson that I really admire. The man who sat at the pool of Bethesda for 38 years, when he was asked what he wanted, he didn't give a direct response as to what he wanted. He said that there's no one to put me in the pool. So, in other words, he was blaming his failure for sitting there 38 years on others because there was no one to put him in the pool. Isn't that what we're doing in our lives today? Or are we taking responsibility, looking for strategies, thinking how we can manage failures and get over them? And so this morning, as we start, I want to look at what are the steps for extracting lessons from our experiences, our failures, and the disappointments that will make us stronger, wiser, and better. And I came up with a acronym. Dr. Howell is a master of acronyms. And this morning I am coming up with one, Dr. Howell. And it is called, oh Lord, TPOS-ERF. Well, you probably won't remember that, but I come up with the steps that we need. First, we need to go through some thoughtful contemplation. We need to think first as to what allowed this, what allowed the experience that we're having before we start to draw a conclusion. Then for the P, we need to pause, because a lot of times we run along without pausing. Take a moment to really think and clarify and prevent hasty judgment and hasty decisions. And then the next thing we need to do, we need to observe the actions, both of ourselves and those who were involved, and try to push for understanding, and not just understanding. Let us apply some empathy as well. And then the next thing we need to do is to self-assess. Engage in self-assessment encourages personal growth and reflection, and help us to make better decisions. And the last two is we want to recognize and value the emotions, because a lot of times we get flustered and we become frustrated and things are happening. But embrace those emotions, because they help us to look deeper within and see what we can do to change the experience, and be honest with ourselves. And when we do all of that, we're certainly going to come away with a different perspective from when we started. So don't look at failure or challenges or setbacks as really a terrible thing in life. Sometimes it's the best thing that we can experience. So, Dr. Howell, what are some of the steps that you would take, or that you would advise others to take, to extract lessons from our experiences?
I will tell you this: the most successful people in the world have experienced failure at some point in time, but their mindset has been different. And so a lot of times people look at failure as, man, I am not good at what I'm doing. Well, you're not supposed to be good at everything you do. So what you need to do is to look at failure as an opportunity to learn what was missed, what you didn't take account of, what you did not evaluate in your equation, adjust and move forward. And so the acronym that I want to use today, and you've heard this acronym before because I did a presentation earlier, is SAD. A lot of times when we fail, we feel sad. But if we remember these three little words, or these three little letters, it can help us to move forward. Self-awareness. What was your role in the failure? Now, you also said just now in your acronym that you have to identify your role and the external role. And so you have to reflect honestly on what happened, identify both the internal factors and the external factors. So you have to have self-awareness of what your role was. Was I ill prepared for this particular activity, for this particular event in life? And if you were ill prepared, how can you better surround yourself with people that can mentor you, that can coach you, that can allow you to see where your blind spots are, that can help you move forward with a lot more information and with a lot more knowledge? A lot of times when people fail, we think, man, I didn't learn anything. No, when you fail, you are now restarting further along than you were previously. And if you use that mindset, it will help you as you adjust and move forward. So the A stands for acceptance. Once you identify what the role you played was, then you also have to accept the fact that you were ill prepared, accept the role that you played in it, find what needs to be adjusted, learn what you need to learn, and then move forward. But that acceptance is a big piece, because when we blame other people, as you said in your story, he blamed others for not being able to get into the pool. And so accept the role that you played in that process. A lot of times we want to do things, but we haven't done the homework. To be an expert in anything, it takes about 10,000 hours. Have you put in your 10,000 hours to be an expert in that particular thing? Or do you just jump on a bandwagon and hope for the best? And then last but not least, the D stands for decision making. But I want to call this objective decision making or effective decision making, because we all make decisions, but do we have the information needed to make that decision? So to me, learning, understanding, identifying all of those factors that are important, the specific lessons that needed to be learned from that failure, and move forward with a positive mindset towards growth and positive development, and improvement.
Uh, deep points, Dr. Howell. The acronym SAD.
Oh,
And
yeah, I mean, everybody's
those
sad
points
after a
are
failure.
no sad points. Those are potent points that you just expressed right there. No sad. Self-awareness is the key to starting and to getting to where we want to get to. And so the second question we are going to look at, Dr. Howell. So we have this failure and we are seeing it, but how can we actually reframe it uh, um, uh, as an opportunity for growth? Because unless we have that type of mindset that sees things in different lights, not just a closed mindset where this is just a problem, this is just a challenge, and how am I going to get through this? But when we're able to reframe that challenge, we can turn it into an opportunity. We can see it as an opportunity, so we can turn it into an opportunity. And when I look at the word reframe, that word means to change the look or appearance of something, put it in a different frame. And that's exactly what we're talking about. When we face challenges, failures, setbacks, all we need to do is to try to put it in a different frame. And so, to truly reframe any kind of experience, we need to grasp, as you have said and I have said before, what we're facing. We can't fix something that we don't understand and we don't know. If you look at a man, a mechanic, or whoever, they know their craft. So when you take your car there, they're able to fix it. So reframing is all about shifting our perspective and viewing things through a different lens. And we all know that life throws us lessons every single day. And I like to add something spiritual to everything that I do, because everything is spiritual before it becomes natural, Dr. Howell. I personally believe that. And so when we recognize that we are spiritual beings and we are navigating a physical world, then we start to notice the messages behind our experience. One person, I try to remember if it was whoever preached a message that says nothing just happens. It didn't just happen. It's a spiritual experience behind that physical world that we live in, that physical experience that we have in. So instead of getting caught up in all of the surface issues and the conflict and everything, it could be something at work where we're having that challenge with a coworker, and we just believe that this coworker is so nasty or so whatever. We can dig deeper and ask ourselves some questions that will help us to unearth, to reframe the situation that we're having. And so shifting our perspective can really be the game changer in every situation that we face. Our viewpoints are actually influenced by different things around us. It could be our surroundings. It could be our emotional state at that point in time. It could be even our spiritual state. And it could be even the physical environment. So it is essential for us to always approach the situations with sensitivity. Avoid jumping to the conclusions, because you're just going to tell your coworker off. I'm going to tell my boss off. I'm going to tell my manager off. But when we start to reframe that, we will see it from a different perspective. And one thing I want to say, Dr. Howell, before I have you jump in here, we have to remember to be kind to our own selves. We have to give ourselves grace and compassion. We all have limitations in life. And it's okay to acknowledge that we just didn't meet the mark this time, because I believe failure means missing the mark. And it's okay to say, I didn't meet the mark this time, but I'm going to try again. And so when we do that, when we give ourselves some grace, ultimately we can find strength and support. And if you're a person of faith like me, your faith empowers you to keep going, to tackle the challenges that comes, and you get beyond it next time. So everything that we come across is a life lesson for growth. Dr. Howell, how would you reframe those challenges to make sure that we take away that lesson from it?
I would say three things and three things only. Hopefully, let's see if I can stick to three things. There is a saying by Dr. Willie Jolly and I've heard Steve Harvey say, and I've heard Les Brown say. It says a setback is nothing more than a setup for a comeback. A setback is nothing more than a setup for a comeback. As you said, we miss the mark when we fail, but failure, as I said earlier, is not as bad as we think, because when we start from further along than we were when we initially started, because now we have life lessons. And a lot of people say experience is a great teacher. I don't think experience is the best teacher, because some things are so painful you may not bounce back from. Some things you want to learn vicariously. So experience is a good teacher, but if you arm yourself with as much information as possible, with as much mentorship and with as much coaches as possible, then when you fail, you are ahead of people who did not arm themselves as well. But not only that, you are ahead of people who haven't even started. So that's the first point. So that brings me to the second point. When you look at the picture of your life and your experiences, remember, just like every coin, there are two sides. Sometimes reframing those disappointments mean taking the negative picture from out of that frame and turning it around to a positive. So now you have a positive picture within your frame. And the positivity is the quote that I just said. A setback is nothing more than a setup for a comeback. So once you fall, as the song says, we fall down,
we get up.
We get up. The most important point is reframing that negative into a positive, falling down, getting back up, and try again. That's the second point. The third point is when we adjust and we incorporate the lessons that we have learned from our failures, and we add the new perspective to it, and then the new information from mentorship and coaching, now we are armed with a better way of moving forward. But with the reframing that was in the second point that I made, we have to remember the Bible says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. So your words are very important. So if you use words like failure, disappointment, you will reap what you sow. If you plant negative seeds, you will reap negative crops. So when you reframe it to the positive aspect, I'm not as far back as I was when I started. Now I have more information than I had before. Now, even if I fail the second time, I will still be further along than if I stop now and never restart. And so those are the 3 points, and I kept it to 3 points.
Wonderful. We are here this morning for half an hour, 30 minutes, talking about extracting lessons from failures and from disappointments, from discouragements. It makes sense that when we pass through these challenges, we just don't come out the same. We have to come out with a lesson. And I want to thank those persons who are joining us on Facebook. I'm seeing some comments from Facebook. Thank you so much for joining us. We are on 3 medias this morning: Facebook, LinkedIn, and we are on YouTube. So thanks again for joining us. So Dr. Howell, as we come down to the crux of what we're talking about, some persons might say, well, those steps might seem challenging for me. What small steps can individual take today, starting now, to the process of really healing and regaining strength after a failure, a challenge, a setback? And when we think of steps, I'm just going to say, never be ashamed of your setbacks or the struggles or the mistakes or the failures that you have encountered in life, because there's really no reason to be embarrassed about facing challenges. Every single one of us who are honest, and let me use that, who are honest, will tell you that we face them daily, weekly, monthly, yearly. We face challenges. Some may be smaller than others, but we do face them. So I want to leave a few questions with you to just self assess, sit in your own quiet space, talk with yourself, ask yourself some questions. And when you ask yourself these questions, if you're able to answer them honestly, these will help you to start making the small steps starting today. And one of the first question I would say, what might I learn from what is happening? Sometimes you have to even call your own name. What can I learn from what is happening to me now? And if you sit long enough, I'm going to let you know that you're going to get that answer. If you roll that question around in your mind long enough, you're going to get that answer. And I want you to also ask, what's not working? We have a famous quote that says, insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. Sometimes it's something that is not working that is causing the failure. Ask yourself, what's not working? Because when you think about it, you will start to assess the different things that I'm doing, maybe step by step, and you start looking deeper, what's not working. When I used to work in banking, we had this thing that we call gut feeling. And let me tell you something, gut feeling was correct at least 90 plus percent of the time. It's what we call intuition. Ask yourself, what's my intuition telling me? What's my gut feeling telling me? Because sometimes we are on a route, and that route is failure after failure after failure after failure. Listen to that gut feeling. Is that gut feeling saying change direction, pivot, pause? That gut feeling is going to tell you something. If you listen long enough, you're going to hear what it's saying. And the final questions, I have many questions that I would say, but the final one I want to tell you to sit with. How might this challenge be a new opportunity for me? How might this failure become a new opportunity for me? I want you to sit with those questions. What might I learn? What can I learn from this? What is my gut feeling or my intuition telling me? And then what's not working? Sit with those questions, because when you do, you're going to find that those questions are going to lead you to making the first small step. First small step is something is not working. I'm going to try something else. I'm going to start document what's not working. If my gut feeling is telling me something, I'm going to make a note of that. So those are my points that I would like to add there, Dr. Howell. What would you add to the question that I've posed earlier? What small steps can they take to start now to regain?
That answers perfection. I can't improve on that. I'm just going to make three little continuations to what you already said. You talked about don't talk negatively to yourself. A lot of times when we fail, we beat ourselves up. We have to forgive ourselves, and you mentioned that. Mm-hmm. We have to be mindful of the fact that those people in the Bible that were considered closest to God's heart were mega failures. If you look at David and the stuff that he did, he killed a whole man just to get his wife. You know, and then you look at, we had disciples, look at all of them ran away when Jesus got arrested. They lied and the cock crowed and all that stuff. They were negative after being with Jesus for 3 years. But look how their story ended. A lot of times we get stuck in what happened and we don't want to move forward. We wallow in it and we feel like we are not supposed to fail. And then when we look at Jesus, when he was in the Garden of Gethsemane, and this was the creator of the world. And he said, this cup is too much for me, but it is not my will, but your will be done. In other words, this is a lot, I don't want to go any further,
Mm-hmm.
but you put me here. So I'm trusting that there's something for me to learn and something for me to do. We were all born with a specific purpose. So if we believe that we are here for a reason, so what gives us the right to just give up? That's the first thing I want to say. So what we need to do is to meditate. What we need to do is contemplate on those things that we're grateful for, all of the positives that we have achieved. What we need to do is to find ways to get up, distract ourselves, and then get back to it. Because sometimes you just need to get up, walk away. Sometimes you need to get up and go meditate. Sometimes you need to get up, go exercise. Sometimes you need to get up and go read a book or something that will get your mind off of it so that your creative juices can get back to flow. The scientists say that we lose creativity when we increase our cortisol, and cortisol is that stress hormone. So sometimes we need to just get up, do something fun, lower those levels, and then get back to it. The second thing we need to do is to have those SMART goals. We need to have goals that are very specific. Was I specific enough in what I was trying to solve? And then is what I'm trying to achieve measurable enough? Do I know when I get to my destination? Is it achievable based on the information, resources, and abilities that I have? Is it relevant to what I'm trying to do in life and where I'm trying to go in life? And last but not least, is it time bound? Am I giving myself micro goals so that I can say, okay, by tomorrow I will have this, by the next day I will have this? Or am I having a goal that is so large that it seems insurmountable? So SMART goals are very important because it keeps us in a small time-bound frame that sets us up more for success and not failure. And last but not least, and I've echoed this several times, we need to have coaches, mentors, and people in our inner circle that can keep us going when we feel like giving up. Even when Jesus was in that garden, he asked his disciples to pray. And every time he came back, he saw them sleeping. And he said, y'all can't even pray with me for a couple of hours. You need people around you that have your back, not people that run away when times get hard. So we have to be very careful as to the people that we let in around us, because we said before there's life and death in the tongue. And we said before that there's power in the words. So you have to be careful of the words of the people around you. Because some people might say, well, why are you trying that? You know, that's not you. That may not be the old me, but this is the new me that I'm trying to create based on God and based on my purpose. So sometimes you need to remove yourself from certain types of people because they see the old you and that's all they see. The new you hasn't been formed yet. And they're trying to hold you back because when you change, it makes them uncomfortable. So now they have to change or leave. And so sometimes people might say things to keep you in a box, but that box is the old you.
Wow. Dr. Howell, you have covered you have covered like a full session in that. That's a teaching moment right there. That box is the old you. You're no longer sitting in that box.
Yes.
And as we close, Dr. Howell, I know we're up right upon the 30 minutes mark. And you have covered much of it. We're talking about what strategies that can we take away or can we give to ensure that when we encounter failure, we come away a better person. And my only strategy that I'm going to talk about this morning that we can use is to find individuals who will help us, who will support us, who will mentor us, who will have our back to help us to get back on our feet. And there was a moment in time past, Dr. Howell, when I was growing up, or even when I got to a certain age, when sharing the issues that you have with someone, it felt like a weight lifted from off your shoulder. And you feel like your problem was half solved. But because these people, they genuinely understood. They understand what you were going through. They would pray alongside you. They would guide you. They would point you to the resources that you need. But sometimes nowadays, it seems as if when you open up and you share the challenge with someone, in many cases, it often feel like it's going to turn into a gossip. Someone else is going to hear. They're going to walk away, as you just said, and things like that. But this is the point. I know you always talk about OPQ, OQP, sorry.
Mhm.
And I firmly believe that what we need to do is to find only quality people. There are times when we can have everyone around us. Our circle can consist of every different type of people, but there are times when we need only quality people, people who are interested in our growth, who are also connected to the Spirit of God. I'm going to add that because sometimes people come and they tell you what their minds tell them, what their emotion is telling them, and it pushes you further. So we want quality people around us, people who are connected to the Spirit of God. And when I say that, I speak about people who have knowledge and have insight and have discernment and are able to not just give you their opinions, but they're able to see beyond the challenge that you're having. And they're able to offer you good advice. It may be that that person is going to say, let me pray with you. Or why don't we fast a day over this challenge that you're having? Why don't we go on a fasting? These are quality people. Jesus, the disciples went around the corner to do some healing or something. And they came back and said, when Jesus went around there and spoke to the condition and the condition was healed, the disciples asked the question, why didn't we do it? Why were we not able to do it? Jesus said to them, some of these things can only be achieved through fasting and prayer. So some of the challenges that we're having in life, it's not just somebody coming to tell you their opinion. Some of these things can only be achieved when we have quality people to help to pray with us and fast with us so that we can move from the place where we are. So in closing, I'm giving my closing remarks right now before I hand over to Dr. Howell. We can get through it. Whatever the condition is, we can get through it. Failure are lessons and opportunities turn inside out. So don't let the hardship or the setback define you. It's only an experience, and every experience is a lesson. It is not a lifetime. So take a break if you must. Rest if you must. Do things that will take your mind off the situation, as Dr. Howell said. There's no reason to feel embarrassed. There was a time when we used to feel embarrassed about failure and challenges, but no more. Embrace them as stepping stone rather than stumbling blocks, and move along into the future and the destiny that God has prepared for you. Dr. Howell, wrap it all up.
I'm going to wrap it up quickly. Jeff Bezos, that was not his first business or idea. The Facebook guy, that was not his first idea. All of these people that we look at as icons in technology, they had previous ideas that did not work. And then we look at Blockbuster, they were giants in the video world back in the 90s, and they dropped the ball. So you can be riding high and still fail. You can fail a lot and still be successful. So as we said earlier, I'm going to leave you with 3 acronyms, and then we're done. SAD, self-awareness, acceptance, and decision-making. Why is that important? Because we're reframing something that is normally associated with negativity and making it positive. So failure should not be seen as a negative. Failure means you got up and did something, but it wasn't to the mark that you were supposed to get to. So you have to be self-aware, accept where you went wrong, adjust, and then go towards better decision-making. The next one that I want to leave you with is what we talked about, SMART goals. Have small micro goals that are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant to what you're trying to achieve, and time bound. Sometimes the time is too far away. We got to make our time smarter. Instead of saying, well, I want to achieve this in a month, you say, I want to achieve a smaller portion of it in a week or 2 days. That way, when you fail, it is a micro failure and it's easier to get up and move forward. And by having micro successes, you can have the momentum needed to push yourself forward. And then last but not least, the HQP, high quality people. Surround yourself with people who have your back, who have that positive energy, who have that mentorship and coaching mindset that will pick you up and help you move along when you need someone to pick you up. You don't want people to keep you in a box. You want people to keep you moving forward and encouraging you. So surround yourself with high quality people. So those 3 acronyms should help you to adjust in your failures, get up, move forward towards a better tomorrow and a better level of success.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Dr. Howell. Here we have it. Elevating Life and Leadership Podcast. We were talking this morning about extracting lessons from failure. Dr. Siegfried Howell was my co-host this morning. Dr. Howell is an author of over 20 books, all available on Amazon. He is a life, happiness, and relationship coach and consultant, and he coaches and equips men and women they love who struggle with internal, intimate, and professional relationship. He's also a corporate trainer, and as usual, it's yours truly, Dr. Janice Brooks, leadership consultant, coach, and Maxwell trainer, certified leadership coach, specializing in temperament counseling and pastoral counseling as well. We are here on Friday mornings, waking you up. Grab your coffee, sit with us as we talk about another important topic to life and leadership. I want to wish you a wonderful rest of your Friday and your weekend. Take this away. Failure are stepping stones. It's nothing to be ashamed about. As Dr. Howell ended, find quality people if you need to discuss, to get help, and move yourself from that place into your place of purpose. God bless you and have a happy Friday. Take good care until next Friday.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.